This is Collins, and today I want to talk about the text tools in Photoshop, the character palette, and the options of the text tool. You might think it's silly that I'm taking the time to teach you about the text tool in Photoshop, but it works different than it does in other word processing programs. You have more options and more control. The sky is the limit of what you can do with typography and the text and fonts in Photoshop. You actually have 4 text tools to use and many things that you can create with it. Is the tools are located over here in your toolbar. And if you click on it and hold with your mouse or trackpad, you'll see that there are actually 4 different text tools. The horizontal text tool is probably the one you'll use the most. There is a vertical text tool and masking tools as well. There are many different really awesome things you can do with typography in Photoshop, and this video is just going to cover the very basic ones. So once I grab the text tool, if I just click, what happens is Photoshop will lay in Latin text. This is a placeholder that shows you where your text box is. Up in the options bar, you have the ability to change your font, the style, the size, the color. You can warp text as well. You can move your text around. But once you grab the text tool and you click, Photoshop automatically makes you a new layer. The placeholder text is helpful when you're working on a layout. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these 2 text layers I made here and show you how to control your text tool a little bit more. So if you just click, your text tool just keeps going and there's no really defined bounds to your text box. So what I recommend is before you start typing is that you click with your text tool, click and drag and draw a box or a shape that you want your text to stay within. This will have you have more control of the edges of your text, and then you can change the boundaries of the text box. As you can see, that Latin text is laid in and it just fills a space to give me an idea of where my text will go. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and write my name in here. And now that I have some text, I can highlight it and I can change it to whatever font I want. And I can make it whatever size I would like. Since this is a really big text box and a really big file, how about we make it size 500? Oops, 100. So my text is too big for the box that I drew, so I just have to drag and move it around. But now that I have my text, it's on its own layer and I can come back and change it. So if later I decide I don't like that font and I want to change the color of what it is or the font, I can still come back and change it at any time because it's on its own layer. I can also rotate and change the text, but this video is just to cover the basics of how to use the text tool. Other things you need to know about text are the things in the options bar and the character palette. So I have opened a few documents here of some screenshots of important things and words you need to know for the Adobe Photoshop certification test. So this is a quick view of what the Photoshop character palette looks like. And when you first open Photoshop, it does not show up. You have to find it and open it. And then you will have access to change all these things with your fonts. So how we turn the character palette on, we go to Window, Character, bam, it opens up. So here it is. I'm going to go ahead and move it right over here so you can see it a little bit better, and I'm going to hide this one for now. What I'm trying to do in this video is really show you 3 things in particular: how to use the text tool, how to find the characters palette, and how to change leading, tracking, and kerning. And the real reason is because they ask you about these things on the Adobe Photoshop certification test. So kerning, leading, and tracking are located in your character panel box. And these give you little pictures next to them of what kerning, leading, and tracking is and what it does. So I'm going to flip over to a different screenshot to try to explain the differences. So the terms you need to know. Tracking is adjusting the space over a adjusting the space uniformly over a word, a sentence, or a phrase. So it's equal spacing between a series of letters. And we have the ability to change that in our character palette. Leading is the difference between two lines of text. So the space between the word tracking and the word leading, this area right here is called leading. I have a story about why it's called that later, but we'll save it for another day. Kerning is the spacing between two independent individual letters. So we can control the spacing between two letters or all of the letters in our character palette. So there are many more words that we need to eventually learn when we're studying typography, but these are just the very basic ones that we need to know for the certification test. Another important thing that will help you is your text options bar. I mentioned it when I typed out my name, but as soon as you select the text tool, as soon as you select the text tool in your toolbars, your options bar will show up at the top of the screen. And you will have many options of what you can do with changing your text in Photoshop. I'm here to help you. I can't wait to see what you create, and thanks for watching.